something strange keeps happening around the Cleveland Browns, and fans are starting to notice the pattern. Every few weeks, a new quarterback rumor suddenly appears. One day it's Kyler Murray. The next week it's Anthony Richardson. Then analysts start talking about Ty Simpson in the draft. And now, the latest name being thrown into the conversation is J.J. McCarthy. The message behind all these rumors seems pretty clear. Some people are still convinced Cleveland needs anybody except Shedeur Sanders under center. But here, where the story gets interesting. Because while the media keeps adding names to the Browns' so-called quarterback wish list, insiders inside Cleveland are telling a completely different story. In fact, one prominent voice in Browns media just called out the entire narrative and claimed many of these rumors may not be based on real information at all. Instead, he says the stories might be something else entirely. And if that claim is true, it raises a serious question. Are these quarterback rumors actually about the Browns? Or are they about people who simply don't want Shedeur Sanders to succeed? The latest twist in the Browns' quarterback drama started with a report that immediately caught fans off guard. According to circulating NFL rumors, the Cleveland Browns were one of several teams that had reportedly checked in on J.J. McCarthy. At first glance, the rumor seemed believable. McCarthy was a high-profile first-round pick who entered the league with a lot of hype. After leading a dominant college program and showing flashes of strong leadership and mobility, many scouts believed he had the potential to become a long-term starter in the NFL. But things haven't exactly unfolded the way many expected. Reports around the league suggest McCarthy's situation with the Minnesota Vikings may be uncertain, especially with new quarterback conversations surrounding the team. Whenever a young quarterback appears to be in a shaky situation, speculation spreads quickly across the league. And that's where Cleveland's name suddenly entered the conversation. The rumor suggested the Browns, along with teams like the Los Angeles Rams and Los Angeles Chargers, had made inquiries about McCarthy's availability. On the surface, that might sound like a normal offseason story. Teams explore options all the time. But the reaction from Browns fans was very different. Because this rumor didn't appear in isolation. Instead, it felt like the latest entry in a very long list of quarterbacks who have been linked to Cleveland over the past several months. Before McCarthy, fans heard speculation about Kyler Murray potentially landing in Cleveland. Then came discussions about Anthony Richardson. At other points, analysts suggested the Browns might pursue players like Malik Willis or even draft prospects such as Ty Simpson. Each time the same storyline appeared. Another quarterback linked to Cleveland. Another reason to question whether Shedeur Sanders would truly get the chance to lead the offense. And every time one rumor faded away, another one quickly replaced it. That pattern is exactly what started raising eyebrows among fans and analysts alike. Because when a team is consistently connected to new quarterback names, even when none of those moves actually happen, it begins to feel less like real reporting and more like speculation filling the news cycle. Which is precisely why some Cleveland insiders have started pushing back against the entire narrative. Because according to them, the Browns may not be searching for a new quarterback at all. And if that's true, it means the J.J. McCarthy rumor might just be the latest example of a much bigger pattern that's been unfolding all offseason. A pattern that one Cleveland voice is now openly calling out. Once you start looking back at the last several months of Browns coverage, a strange pattern begins to appear. It feels like every few weeks, a brand new quarterback name suddenly gets attached to the Cleveland Browns. And each time, the story sounds almost identical. Someone claims the Browns might be interested in a new quarterback. Analysts begin debating whether Cleveland should move on from Shedeur Sanders. Fans start arguing online about whether the team needs a different direction at the position. Then a few days later, the rumor disappears, and a completely different quarterback takes its place. First, it was speculation about Kyler Murray potentially becoming available. The idea was that if Murray's situation changed with the Arizona Cardinals, Cleveland could explore a blockbuster move to bring him in. When that rumor faded, another name surfaced. Suddenly, analysts began suggesting the Browns could look at Anthony Richardson if the Indianapolis Colts decided to move in a different direction. Again, the discussion quickly gained traction across sports media and fan communities. Then came conversations about younger quarterbacks and draft prospects. Some reports speculated that Cleveland could target Ty Simpson in the draft. Others suggested the team might pursue players like Malik Willis as a developmental option. At one point, even veteran quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins were mentioned as potential targets. And now, the latest addition to the list is J.J. McCarthy. When you look at the entire sequence together, the pattern becomes hard to ignore. The Browns have been connected to nearly every available quarterback in the conversation, from veteran stars to young prospects. Yet none of those moves have actually happened. That's what makes the situation so unusual. Because in the NFL, when a team truly wants a new quarterback, the signs are usually obvious. Front offices aggressively pursue trades. Free agent meetings get scheduled. Insider reports begin confirming real negotiations. But in Cleveland's case, the rumors seem to appear without any real follow-through. Which is why some analysts are beginning to question where these stories are actually coming from. Are the Browns truly exploring all of these quarterback options behind the scenes? Or are these rumors simply filling the constant demand for offseason headlines? That question is exactly what sparked the next part of the debate. Because one prominent Cleveland voice decided it was time to call the entire situation out. And his explanation for what's happening behind the scenes has fans paying very close attention. As the quarterback rumors kept piling up, one voice in Cleveland sports media finally decided to address the situation head-on. That voice was Garrett Bush, and according to him, the entire conversation about the Cleveland Browns chasing new quarterbacks may be built on shaky ground. Bush didn't just question the rumors. He challenged the way they've been presented to fans over the past several months. During a recent discussion about the quarterback situation, Bush argued that many of the stories linking Cleveland to different quarterbacks may not actually come from legitimate information inside the organization. Instead, he suggested that some of these rumors might simply be speculation that gets repeated often enough to sound credible. And his criticism didn't stop there. Bush pointed out that in many industries, being consistently wrong about major claims would come with serious consequences. If a doctor makes repeated mistakes, they risk losing their license. If a lawyer violates professional standards, they can be disbarred. In fields like accounting or finance, inaccurate reporting can lead to lawsuits or even criminal charges. But according to Bush, sports media doesn't operate under the same level of accountability. Analysts and commentators can make bold predictions, present theories as possible scenarios, and move from one rumor to the next without facing real consequences if those stories turn out to be inaccurate. If a prediction doesn't come true, the conversation simply shifts to the next headline. And in the Browns' case, Bush believes that's exactly what has been happening. Over the past 6 to 8 months, the team has been linked to multiple quarterbacks across the league. Each new rumor has sparked fresh debates about whether Cleveland should replace Shedeur Sanders or bring in competition for the starting job. But as Bush pointed out, none of those rumors have actually resulted in a move. The Browns haven't traded for a new quarterback. They haven't aggressively pursued veteran free agents at the position, and they haven't signaled any major shift away from the players already on the roster. From Bush's perspective, that pattern speaks volumes. Because if Cleveland truly believed it needed a different quarterback, the front office would likely be acting far more aggressively to solve the problem. Instead, the team appears to be focusing on strengthening the roster around the quarterback position, rather than replacing it. And that observation leads to a much bigger question. If the Browns aren't actually chasing all of these quarterbacks, then why do the rumors keep appearing in the first place? The argument that Garrett Bush raised goes far beyond just the Cleveland Browns quarterback rumors. According to him, the situation highlights a much larger issue inside modern sports media: the lack of accountability when predictions or rumors turn out to be wrong. Bush explained it with a comparison that caught a lot of attention. In most professions, accuracy matters because mistakes come with real consequences. If an accountant mishandles financial information, they can lose their job or even face legal action. Lawyers must follow strict professional rules or risk losing their license. Doctors operate under even higher stakes, where errors can lead to lawsuits, career-ending penalties, or worse. But in the world of sports commentary, the rules are very different. Analysts, commentators, and media personalities often make bold claims about trades, signings, or roster decisions without having to prove the information is correct. If the prediction ends up being wrong, the conversation simply moves on to the next rumor, the next hot take, or the next debate. And according to Bush, that's exactly what Browns fans have been watching all offseason. One rumor suggests Cleveland could trade for Kyler Murray. When that doesn't happen, the next story claims the team might pursue Anthony Richardson. If that scenario fades away, attention shifts toward a draft prospect like Ty Simpson. Now the latest headline involves J.J. McCarthy. From Bush's perspective, the cycle keeps repeating because there's nothing stopping it. Each new rumor generates conversation, debate, and engagement across social media and sports talk shows. Even if the information isn't confirmed, the story still attracts attention. And in today's media environment, attention is valuable. That doesn't necessarily mean every rumor is intentionally misleading. Sometimes reporters genuinely hear speculation from different sources around the league. Other times, analysts simply explore hypothetical scenarios during discussions about team needs. But when those hypothetical ideas start getting repeated often enough, they can begin to sound like actual inside information. That's when fans start believing something big might be happening behind the scenes. Bush's message to Browns fans was simple: don't confuse speculation with confirmed plans. Until Cleveland's front office actually makes a move, many of these quarterback stories remain just that, stories. And when you step back and look at the Browns' real offseason strategy, a very different picture begins to emerge. Because while the rumors keep suggesting Cleveland is searching for a new quarterback, the team's actual roster decisions may be pointing in the opposite direction. When you tune out the noise and look strictly at what the Cleveland Browns have actually done this offseason, the situation starts to look very different from the rumors dominating headlines. Because while speculation has linked Cleveland to quarterbacks like Kyler Murray, Anthony Richardson, and now J.J. McCarthy, the Browns' real moves have focused on something else entirely: building the roster around the quarterback they already have. Instead of aggressively chasing a new signal caller, Cleveland has spent most of the offseason strengthening key areas that directly impact offensive success. The front office has focused on improving the offensive line, adding depth across the roster, and reinforcing the supporting cast around the quarterback position. Those types of moves usually tell you a lot about how a team views its current quarterback situation. In the NFL, when a franchise truly believes its quarterback isn't the long-term answer, the response is usually immediate and obvious. Teams begin exploring major trades, scheduling high-profile visits with free agents, or positioning themselves to draft a new quarterback as quickly as possible. But that's not what Cleveland has done. Instead, the organization has continued investing in areas designed to help Shedeur Sanders succeed. The offensive line has been a major focus. Depth along the line of scrimmage has become a priority, especially after last season exposed how injuries and inconsistency up front can disrupt an entire offense. When protection breaks down, even the most talented quarterbacks struggle to execute their game plan. By addressing that weakness, the Browns appear to be setting up a more stable environment for their offense moving forward. The team has also maintained a strong commitment to the running game, which can relieve pressure on the quarterback and create a more balanced offensive attack. A reliable run game forces defenses to respect multiple threats, opening up opportunities for play action and downfield passing. When you combine those elements, stronger protection, a solid running attack, and developing offensive weapons, you get the type of structure that helps young quarterbacks grow into their role. And that's exactly why some analysts believe Cleveland's real strategy has been misunderstood. Instead of searching for a replacement quarterback, the Browns may simply be preparing to give Sanders a legitimate opportunity to prove himself. Which brings the entire conversation back to the central question Browns fans have been asking all offseason. If the team is building around Sanders, could he already be the quarterback Cleveland plans to move forward with? The interesting part about this entire situation is that the quarterback rumors don't just exist in a vacuum. At the center of all the speculation is one player, Shedeur Sanders, and the intense spotlight that has followed him for years. From the moment Sanders entered the national football conversation, expectations were unusually high. A big reason for that attention comes from his background and the massive spotlight surrounding his journey through college football. Playing under the leadership of his father, Deion Sanders, meant every step of his career was watched closely by fans, analysts, and critics alike. That level of attention created two very different narratives around Sanders. On one side, supporters believe he has all the tools needed to become a successful NFL quarterback. They point to his confidence, leadership, and ability to stay calm under pressure as signs that he could grow into a franchise leader if given the right opportunity. On the other side, critics remain skeptical. Some analysts have questioned whether the hype surrounding Sanders has been amplified by the spotlight around his family name. Others believe he still needs time to prove himself against the speed and complexity of NFL defenses. In their view, the Browns should keep exploring alternative quarterback options, just in case Sanders doesn't develop the way supporters expect. That divide is exactly why every quarterback rumor connected to Cleveland gets so much attention. Whenever a new name like J.J. McCarthy enters the conversation, it instantly becomes part of a larger debate about Sanders' future with the Cleveland Browns. Fans who believe in Sanders see those rumors as unnecessary distractions, while critics interpret them as signs that Cleveland may still be searching for a long-term answer. And because Sanders already carries such a high profile, the discussion tends to spread quickly across sports media. But what makes this situation even more fascinating is the contrast between the outside conversation and what Cleveland's front office appears to be doing internally. While analysts continue debating Sanders' potential, the Browns' offseason decisions have focused less on replacing him and more on strengthening the environment around him. That approach suggests the team may want to evaluate Sanders properly before making any long-term judgments about his future. Which leads directly to the biggest question still hanging over Cleveland's quarterback situation. If Sanders finally gets the opportunity to lead the offense with a stronger supporting cast, what happens if he proves the doubters wrong? All of the rumors, debates, and speculation surrounding the Cleveland Browns eventually come down to one thing: what happens on the field. Because once the season begins, The endless discussions about quarterback possibilities will be replaced by real performances, real results, and real answers. And that moment could be especially important for Shedeur Sanders. For months, the conversation around Cleveland has been dominated by questions. Can Sanders truly handle the pressure of leading an NFL offense? Does the team need another quarterback waiting in the wings? Should the Browns keep exploring alternatives just in case? Those questions have fueled countless headlines and debates, but the reality is that speculation only lasts until games begin. Once the season kicks off, the focus shifts entirely to production. If Sanders steps onto the field and delivers consistent performances, managing the offense, protecting the football, and helping Cleveland win games, the entire narrative could change almost overnight. The same analysts who spent months discussing other quarterback options would suddenly be forced to acknowledge that the Browns may already have their answer. That's the moment many supporters are waiting for. Because if Cleveland's offseason strategy truly is about building a stronger system around Sanders, the upcoming season becomes the ultimate test of that plan. The improved offensive line, deeper roster, and balanced offensive approach all point toward one goal: creating an environment where the quarterback can succeed. But success in the NFL is never guaranteed. The league is filled with elite defenders, complex defensive schemes, and relentless weekly pressure. Every quarterback eventually faces adversity, and the ability to respond to those challenges often determines whether a player becomes a long-term starter or simply another name in the long history of promising prospects. For Sanders, this season represents an opportunity to prove that he belongs among the league's starting quarterbacks. If he rises to that challenge, the constant stream of rumors about other quarterbacks could fade away quickly. Instead of debating who Cleveland should pursue next, the conversation could shift toward how far the Browns can go with Sanders leading the offense. And that's why this upcoming season might be one of the most important turning points for the franchise. Because if Sanders succeeds, the Browns may finally achieve something they've been searching for over the past several years: stability at the most important position in football. The interesting thing about rumors in the NFL is that they usually only last as long as uncertainty exists. When a team's quarterback situation is unclear, speculation fills the gap. Analysts debate possible trades, insiders float potential signings, and fans begin imagining every possible scenario. That's exactly the environment the Cleveland Browns have been operating in over the past several months. As long as there were unanswered questions about the quarterback position, it was easy for new rumors to appear. One week it might involve Kyler Murray. The next week it might shift to Anthony Richardson or J.J. McCarthy. Each new name created another round of headlines and discussions. But rumors have a funny habit of disappearing once reality becomes clear. If Shedeur Sanders steps into the starting role and begins performing well, the entire conversation could shift almost instantly. Instead of asking whether Cleveland should pursue another quarterback, analysts would begin discussing how Sanders is developing within the Browns system. And that's the moment when speculation tends to fade away. Teams that find stability at quarterback rarely generate the same level of rumor-driven discussion. When a franchise clearly has its leader under center, the focus of coverage usually shifts toward roster building, playoff expectations, and long-term strategy rather than constant quarterback debates. For Cleveland, that type of stability would represent a major step forward. The Browns have spent years searching for consistency at the quarterback position. Different starters, changing systems, and constant adjustments have made it difficult for the team to establish long-term momentum. Finding a quarterback who can grow with the organization would allow the franchise to build around a clear foundation. That's why this upcoming season carries so much importance. If Sanders proves he can handle the role, Cleveland could finally move past the endless cycle of quarterback speculation. The rumors about trades and draft picks would lose their relevance, replaced by discussions about how the team can continue strengthening the roster. Of course, that outcome still depends on what happens once the games begin. But if the Browns' offseason strategy truly reflects confidence in Sanders, the upcoming season may reveal something fans have been wondering about for months: that the team's quarterback search might already be over. In the end, all the rumors, debates, and endless quarterback wish lists surrounding the Cleveland Browns might be masking a much simpler reality. While the media continues linking Cleveland to players like J.J. McCarthy, Kyler Murray, and Anthony Richardson, the organization itself appears to be taking a very different approach. Instead of chasing every available quarterback, the Browns may be focused on giving Shedeur Sanders a real opportunity to prove what he can do. The upcoming season will reveal the truth. If Sanders delivers strong performances and helps Cleveland compete, the constant speculation could disappear almost overnight. But if the offense struggles, the rumors will likely return even louder than before. Either way, the answer won't come from headlines or debates. It will come from what happens on the field. And when that moment arrives, Browns fans may finally find out whether the quarterback they've been arguing about all offseason is actually the one leading the team into the future.